The race for the Republican presidential nomination is getting tight in the early voting state of Iowa. Texas Senator Ted Cruz and Donald Trump neck and neck right now, according to brand new Fox News polling. 28% of likely caucus goers say they want Cruz. 26% say they want Trump. And take a look at this. 30% say Senator Cruz is the most qualified candidate to keep our nation safe. 20% feel that way for Trump. That's a big differential. Cruz seems to be doing something in Iowa that's resonating. Can it continue to fend off Donald Trump? Is it a blip? We don't know. We're going to talk about it. The Fox News political insiders are here, and I'm in my happy space because they're all here. And you can chime in while you tune in on our Fox News social pages, Facebook and Twitter, and I will take that and get it into the conversation. John Leboutiller, former Republican congressman for New York. Pat Caddell in the middle. Back with us, a former pollster for President Jimmy Carter and Fox News contributor. And on the end, Doug Schoen, former pollster for President Bill Clinton and Fox News contributor as well. Doug, I'm going to start with you. A blip or a trend for Ted Cruz?
A clear trend.
Why do you say that?
3 reasons. First, you have the Des Moines Register poll, which shows an even bigger lead Harris, about 10 points. But second, you also have a substantial movement in the Wall Street Journal poll for Ted Cruz. He's within 5 points of Donald Trump.
Nationally.
Nationally, yes. Thank you, Pat. And the internals on the poll, Harris, show that the movement of opinion, favorability, and confidence is moving Ted Cruz's way.
Wow. Okay, I wrote all that down. Pat?
Well, one of the things the Des Moines Register poll, which had a lot of questions on it, and I considered the best, I hate to say the Iowa poll, because the woman who runs it has been right for the last God knows how many decades.
Okay, you're on her holiday card list.
Anyway, she points out that one of the things happening in that poll is massive movements of favorability. Massive movements up for Cruz. Rubio and Trump stayed the same. But boy, there were a lot of movements down. Jeb Bush, despite spending millions of dollars there, is now down 22 points. The arena's down. You have guess who, Christie going up. There's so much volatility.
And why is that important?
Because it means that under the numbers, there's a lot of movement happening. We may be in a period that people think happens only the week before Iowa, happening a month or so early.
Oh, that's
which means a very dramatic. I think we're going to have several more turns of this, but a lot of this is going to set up the debate Tuesday.
All right, before I go to you, John, one second, I want to get in this, something that I tweeted out that's getting a lot of response, and it's what people are talking about. Is there an upside to a brokered or contested convention where people don't decide the party's nominee? If so, what? And I mean, almost to a person, people are saying, no, they want to say.
Well, yes. And first of all, there is no upside to that, because that would mean that the primaries didn't produce someone with a majority of the delegates for the first ballot. I think we got ahead of ourselves last week with this as a topic. Let's get going on this week. We have a big debate Tuesday night. But let me just jump in on the Cruz thing. I think Cruz has run a smart campaign, built a good organization in all the early states, all the way through the SEC primary, has a lot of money. He's done better as a candidate on the technical stuff than Rubio has. He's not, I don't think he's as good on TV as Rubio, but Cruz has built a machine that should not be underestimated. He's got one problem, though. This is still way early before Iowa.
But according to Pat, though, going into Iowa, is this a switch in momentum?
But it could switch more between now and then. That's the thing.
And probably will.
Let me just say this about the three of them. You take the top 3 candidates, which are Trump, Cruz, and Rubio now, I think people admit. But you know what? They're each at a very important transition point, whether they can make it or not. Donald Trump has had a masterful campaign of being a front runner for months, spending very little money. And now he needs to transition, whether he deepens his message with advertising or whatever he needs to do. That's a critical moment. Cruz has done the organization, but the question is for him is, can he be less an ideologue and more of an insurgent? That's where the other votes are for him. And thirdly, for Rubio, it's when is he going to pick a state like New Hampshire? If I were him, I'd be in New Hampshire campaigning my neck off.
So you got to pick one.
All right.
So we've been putting up some little fact boxes on the screen as people are watching, and one of them says that that Ted Cruz is second among GOP candidates in terms of fundraising. That money is important at this point.
Well, yes, and he also has super PAC money. big super PAC money.
But flip that with Donald Trump, who says he doesn't need any of that.
Well,
and people love that about him, so
Harris,
they say.
They may love it, but if your numbers are sinking and you're not spending, you're making a mistake. Contrast that with Cruz, who is going up, who has access to both substantial campaign funds and super PAC money. Cruz is on a major trajectory.
I want to say, I think we have to say something, and we need to stop for a minute. The three of us have talked about this. We need to recognize, as of today, what a unbelievably good job to today Donald Trump has done in turning around the perception of him among Republicans. When he announced in June, it's like 60% of Republicans said, I'd never vote for the guy.
What, did you say ain't kidding?
Ain't kidding. But not only has he done a great job on his own behalf, he has shaped the entire agenda of 2016. All by himself, no consultants, no pollsters, no
We
nothing.
are going to talk more about that idea of a brokered convention, which might tamper with what you're talking about. But I want to move on to this and drill down into those numbers. The vote in Iowa could come down to voter turnout. 32% of those who say they will definitely go to the caucuses plan to vote for Ted Cruz. Trump is seeing his strongest numbers among those who will probably attend, with 27%.
This is
Why
a
is that
harbinger
important?
of good for Ted Cruz. The
Why?
reason, because his voters, who are largely very conservative and evangelical, are most fervent about turning out and voting. And when you look at polls and you see these kind of trends, it is a harbinger of good for the guy who's got the most intense supporters.
That's normally the case, but we saw with Obama in 08 in Iowa, where he drew people out with enthusiasm about him who had not participated. I remember back in '84, Gary Hart, who had no campaign, went in the last weeks with advertising and finished second, which he needed to do the Mondial. You can bring people out. You can. Iowa, the electorate.
Does Trump have the vehicle to
That's
get
what
him
I'm saying. Trump has got, I don't know if he's got the vehicle. He's apparently fairly well organized, I understand there. But the most important thing he's got is fervent supporters who normally don't. So the question is, do they come out?
Can I ask you a question, John, just about where they are in the place of this election and their politics, Trump and Cruz? Because in the beginning of this ride that everybody's been on and watching some of the drama in the race, so on and so forth, and, 17 candidates and blah, 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 I mean, it has seemed like they were not aligned, but at least maybe friends. Or in politics, maybe you call it frenemies. I don't know.
Yeah, well, they've had different styles. Cruz doesn't go after any of them much.
But they don't step in each other's wheelhouses, is what I'm talking about.
But they're getting there.
Come Tuesday,
Tuesday night.
Trump called Cruz a maniac. So
right, we had some of that on Fox
and that
Report
was
tonight.
in response to Cruz at a fundraiser here in New York being tape recorded as basically saying, do the voters really want either Carson or Trump with the finger on the button? And that got out, and Trump correctly, I think, reacted to it.
Saying he did it in secret.
Right.
No, he didn't do it. Yeah, but he was already working on this. It's going to be interesting Tuesday because Rubio sits there on one end wanting to bring Cruz down on national security. Trump has another agenda. I don't know what Christie's are, but because of all this new turmoil and the rise of Cruz, he, I suspect, will be a target Tuesday. He's a good debater, how he handles himself, but I think he's going to get it from a couple of directions, and we will see.
Real quickly.
Cruz is trying to be Trump light.
The Muslim comments, do they come up at the debate?
Yes,
absolutely.
They'll lead off with it.
Absolutely will come up.
By the way, has not, it would look like, in some of the polling that I've seen since he said the comments, has not harmed him. He actually got a little bit of a bump. Iowa not included in that.
That is true. But what Cruz is going to try to do is play off that, get that constituency without attacking Trump.
We're going to talk about Christie for a second.
All right, hold on. We're going to come back.
Okay.
You guys aren't going anywhere, are you?
No.
Not if you're here.
Duh.